Namaste, everyone. Welcome to your show, Manage Better. This is episode number 41, and thank you very much for joining, those who have already joined. And I'm sure with some time, many more people will join. Today is an interesting topic, and this is World Quality Month, November 2022. And during this month, I have made a promise to myself that I will bring a lot of quality related content to people on LinkedIn, YouTube, and the channels that I am present on. And I need your support because without that, I can't really publish much. So, those who have joined us, let me know if you are on LinkedIn or YouTube. Drop in a hi or a location where you are from, or a question or comment for today's session, and I will quickly get into the session. I can already see that the feeds on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter are already on. So technically, we are live, but it is always good to hear from some people that they can see us. Okay, so as I said, this is episode number 41 in this series. When I say this series, I do two series. One is for Kimpro Foundation, which is to honor the qualitists of the month. For last 16, 17 months, we have been honoring um, quality professionals on that series. And in this series, which is my series, I bring people who have been there, done it, have helped everybody manage better, and are very focused on bringing best practices to life. So this could be coaches, consultants, authors, practitioners, anybody who's doing work that is helping others and making things easier. So yeah, so I can see now Deepak from on YouTube is live, Satish, Magesh, Ajay, Gopal, Krishna, Pillai, and Ankur, and quite a few others have already joined. I will during the show try and bring your comments onto the screen. But thank you for letting me know that you are in. So as we get deeper into the show, I will clarify the format a little bit. But those who are regular, you already know the format that this is an interview based format. So I will have a guest very soon. And I prepared a very tough list of questions. So hopefully the guest will be able to answer. And you can make it tougher with your questions. So yeah, quite a few. Nital Zaveri, one of our distinguished qualitists, is also in the show. Kirti Kumar Singh, quite a few quality professionals now joining in. So let me introduce the guest for the show today. But before I do that, quick reminder: many of you join the show, and of course, you do thank me subsequently, but you don't subscribe to the channel or follow my page on LinkedIn. Now that means that all the hard work that goes into these, creating these sessions, I don't get your love enough to remain motivated, right? So one request is that if you do this, each follow, each subscribe, what it does to me is that it makes sure that my message is reaching out to more people, right? So and that is important, and that keeps our motivation going on. So if you are live on from YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. If you are on LinkedIn watching this show, follow, check my profile and hit the follow button and the bell icon that you see, so that any future any future events or shows like this, the alert reaches you quickly. Okay, with that marketing plug, I will introduce the guest to the show. So today's guest is somebody I have known since 1990. And he is a very diligent person, so he might correct me later on, but I am sure it is 1990. So which is from my engineering days. A senior of mine, very respectable senior of mine, and so I've known him from since then. And later on in life, coincidentally, our career paths became similar. So we both joined the quality profession, and since then, we are among the few who have stayed on in the quality profession. Right. So reasons are our own. Don't speculate too much, but we have stayed on with the quality profession. So name is Bhavya Mangala. I will bring him on the stream quickly, but he is currently head of a large certification body, their India automotive business, and is a expert on multiple standards and certifications that the ISO series has, and many related ones as well. Right. So, for example, the automotive sector, of course, has their own standards, So all these standards, and in general, very good grip on the certification process. So the reason I have invited Bhavya today is that in World Quality Month, I also wanted to focus on one of the fundamentals of quality, which is do what you say what you do. Now, the quality standards world actually is the is the manifestation or illustration of this principle of quality, that do what you say what you do. But there are many standards, there are many certifications, and sometimes we get confused. And over the last 30-40 years, since 1987, when the standards first came in, there has been some erosion in confidence in these standards. So I need people like Bhavya Mangla to bring back that confidence through their knowledge and experience in this field. So with that, I will bring Namaste Bhavya sir. How are you today?
Namaskar. I'm doing wonderful.
Okay, fantastic. So, I, of course, wanted a little bit more additional introduction for you, which I have saved for when you are in the live stream. So,
Yep,
you are,
yep,
of course, everybody knows you have more than 30 years in, quality field as or in the auditing world and other related worlds. But there are other facets like you are an author, you have already got a published book, you are writing another one, you've been a toastmaster, active toastmaster for many many years, and that shows in how you confidently and articulately you speak. And some additional hobbies like your blog on YouTube, or vlog as we say.
yep.
I think more than now, like 250 270 odd videos that are there. So everybody on the call, if you I will of course share Bhavya's details of the YouTube uh, channel that he has. But do take some time to check out very very informative quality related videos, very short. Some are only 2 minutes, some are maximum 5 minutes or so. And in that, and many are in Hindi. So those who are vernacular, inclined towards vernacular or Hindi language, can also benefit from that. And he's doing a great service because not everybody has the English that most of the textbooks or standards are written in. So it is somebody's job to then convert them into easy to relate language, which is you. And that is something I totally admire about you. And of course, your passion for fitness and all, which will probably need another episode. But so today we'll focus on your quality one. So welcome once again. Any opening comments, sir?
Well, I'm very happy to know more about myself. I think even I was not aware so much good about me, and I'm feeling more confident about myself after getting such a wonderful introduction from you. Thank you very much, Anushman. Thank you. It has been always a wonderful pleasure talking to you.
Same here. I think the feeling is mutual because, like I said, we come from the same alma mater. We stayed in the same hostel, the same floor.
Yep,
So there are more memories than we can share in this episode in public. But we will leave that point to some other day.
yep.
And we have quite a few other people joining in. And Shweta Notyal has given a very interesting comment. This topic is so appropriate in today's scenario where organizations are losing focus and interest toward the certification body. Extremely well said, Shweta. We'll cover this topic. And by the middle of the show, if you feel this topic is not covered, please post your question again. Okay. Um, Fantastic. So, what we will do, like I have already shared with everybody, that this is a uh, you know conversation that I have planned, and around the topic of standards and certifications, which, to my mind, is the foundation of any quality program. So, if an organization wants a quality program, they cannot leapfrog to world class quality without having a sound foundation on of quality standards and system. And for that and that reason alone, it is sufficient to be interested in this topic. However, we find that across the world, and since you manage India market for your organization, you might have seen some interest coming down in standards and
Yeah.
certification. So if you have seen that, any broad views on why this is happening, or is it happening at all, or am I daydreaming and it is not happening?
Well, with the time change, things also change. I can give an analogy, not to justify that. Like say 10 years, 20 years back, uh, our only thing that we want to see was cinema hall, and there was long queues and houseful board was there. But now with the advent of social media and web series and so many other things, now people have got many opportunities, many different ways in which they can, enjoy themselves and make themselves feel good. Something similar is happening with this ISO certifications also. Maybe around 20, 30 years back, like you said, in 1987, when the standard first came into existence, that were the only thing that were there globally. But then
Hmm.
over a period of time, there are so many new things that have come, and now people have a choice to pick that whether they should go for ISO or they should go for this or they should go for that. So this is one of the key reasons that people are not only dependent on ISO series for improving their systems. Then apart from that, yes, over a period of time, people have also realized that maybe the commitment level which should have been there, the benefit what they were getting, they are actually not getting it through this certification process. So that has eroded in some way the image of the certifications. But I think still in this 2022 there is no other better option than the ISO certification, which I could see at this moment.
Well said. I think that's a fair point. The analogy that almost everything has changed in the last 30, 40 years. And why 30, 40 years? In the last 2 years itself, so many things have changed because of a disruption that none of us were ready for.
Yeah,
So, and one disruption comes to mind is that so many people, like just taking an example that you shared, that we are interested in going in cinema halls and watching movies. Now we are watching movies on our phones quite a bit, and or a tablet or a laptop or home screen or something. And as patterns across society change, many things change. So that
yeah,
of course explains. But I like your point toward the end that there is still no substitute for good management practices, and there are not many structured, disciplined methods today,
yeah,
or nothing really has replaced the ISO 9000 series, for example, right? So, and in fact, the series is growing, with many associated standards coming in.
yeah, yeah.
I was only earlier last week reviewing the new standard on ISO 31000, which is for
Risk
the
management.
risk management, enterprise risk management. Even though it is not a certifiable standard yet, but we were actually looking at something like that, and we were surprised that there is actually already a standard which is available and very well written kind of standard.
Yeah, yeah,
So there are many good new things also happening, which brings me to the question, that what is new in the world of standards? One example I shared, which I just recently learnt about, which is 31,000. But what is
yeah,
new in the world of standards? We, I think almost everybody in this call, and this is a subject specific call. Only people interested in quality and standards would be
yeah,
joining this
yeah,
call. So I'm sure 100% people know about ISO 9001
yeah,
and some related standards. So,
yeah.
but what is new? Something surely must be new.
Well, of late, what is happening is that earlier, like ISO 9001 was the only standard, which was a base standard, and most of the companies were going for that. But then it was realized that for different sectors, say automotive, food, pharma, IT, and other sectors, railway, there are specific requirements which are there with respect to their core of business. So
Hmm.
of late, you will see that there are different standards which are there. ISO standard, like for food, it is ISO 22000. Information security, there is ISO 27001. If I talk about automotive, the standard is IATF 16949. Something similar is with IRIS standard, and also for the medical devices ISO 13485. So what is happening is that now there are many branches which are coming out from the base ISO 9000 standard to fulfill the expectations of that particular standard, because ISO standard was not giving them that much of benefit what they were expecting. But with the addition of all these things, it is something like that. It's a plain bread that you are having, but then depending upon the requirement, somebody is having some different kind of things. Some is putting some sauce, some is putting some onions, or maybe potatoes, depending upon their requirement, and then making them more relevant for them. So I think this is something new which has happened in the last 10-15 years, and that is making the ISO series more relevant and more effective for everyone.
So the common thread in what you say, Bhavya, is that there is
Yes,
customization for the industry needs. So the common thread in what you were sharing is multiple industries, and of course multiple areas also, like information security and related. And we recently got certified to data privacy standard, which is an offshoot
yes,
of the information security one. So
yes,
a certifications or standards are now reflecting specific needs of organization, and b,
yeah,
they are also reflecting the needs of specific organizations, right?
yeah,
So which means different industries. So one is a, you can say, functional split, the other is a organizational kind of a split.
yeah,
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense, and some comments coming in, which I will try and bring in between during the show. I'll try and bring in comments from the audience.
sure.
So Ankur Jain, who's a quality practitioner, brings in a question, rather a comment. Achieving a quality man certification can pay huge dividends for any business in improved efficiency. Yeah, fantastic, Ankur. Exactly what we wanted to convey. So you actually put it in very crisp, clear language. Both Bhavya and I will be very proud of how you are articulating this. So thank you very much. And there are quite a few other comments. So this also reminds me that your questions can start coming in, and please make the questions really tough so that we can quiz Bhavya as much as we want to.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Today I am on the other side, Generally, I
Yeah,
used to ask the difficult questions. Yeah,
the hunter is the hunted today. So
yeah,
so it is not very often that you get to audit the head of audit of a large global organization. So your turn today, guys. Okay. So moving on, of course, we a little bit of we try to understand the landscape of certification and standards. So you certainly spoke about and explained how certain standards are changing, right?
yeah.
And but anything about what is coming up? What can we expect as people who are active in this field? And you already shared quite a bit as to what has happened in the last few years, but anything that is coming up that lay people like me and others in the call may not know, but in your position as somebody who's really active, of course some of it may be confidential, but anything that can be shared with the audience.
Well, if I talk about, say, automotive sector, which is a very dynamic sector,
Hmm.
regularly the standard is getting upgraded. It's not that the standard is getting updated every 5 years or 7 years or 10 years. In between, also there are many changes which are happening there. Say, for example, like you said, about 2-3 years back, nobody had thought about that disruption. But now, if we look into the automotive standard, they have started using a word pandemic, which was not there earlier. Then, when the last series of the standard came in 2015 and 16, at that time, even though cybersecurity was an important word, but it was still not had impacted the globe so much. But now, cybersecurity has become an integral part of the automotive standard. So what I'm trying to say is that these standards are actually the live standard. These are not something a stagnant one which has come and no changes are happening. But based on the change in the dynamics of the market, depending upon the market expectations, regularly these bodies are reviewing and they are upgrading. Say, for example, till 2020, nobody had thought that there is always any possibility of a remote audit. Even we as an auditor had never thought that we can do audit. But as the time has changed, people have adapted themselves, and I won't say 100%, but reasonably a decent job has been done by doing a remote audit also. So I think that way the standards are evolving. They are making them more relevant to the present times. Say, for example, like you talked about ISO 31001. Now, this again is basically a need of the hour because everybody is thinking about the risk. We don't know what is the coming risk and how it is going to impact the industry. Like we all know about COVID, the recent example, which we give quite often as an example, or maybe the recent Russia-Ukraine war, which is happening. So this risk management helps the organization to anticipate the existing and the future risk, and what actions can be taken with respect to that. So I think this is a way in which the standards are evolving, and in coming times also there will be many more standards which will be more applicable to the day-to-day needs of the people.
And we can already see that, like you rightly pointed out, the 31,000 as well. Maybe even 2 3 years ago, most people were not even looking at that kind of a standard, even though that, foundations of that standard were already there. It is not that it
Yes.
was built in the last 1 year, right? So no standard comes up in, and I will quiz you in a little bit about the whole standards development process also. But in general, everybody should understand that standards don't happen in a year. I have, including Bhavya sir and other people I know who are in these technical committees which come up with these standards. But just to come back to the example of ISO 31,000,
Yeah.
it is very clear that the need for risk management was being felt across companies, and this many people call risk management the new quality management as well. That while quality is now inbuilt into many processes, risk is not, or the mitigation, identification and mitigation of risk is not inbuilt into our
Yeah.
processes. So that will be certainly a frontier. With that, I'll bring one comment from Himanshu Pancholi. He is very regular on my quality related shows. So thank you, Himanshu, first of all, for your support. But your point is, in most cases, organization not referred reference and supporting standard during the implementation. Likewise, so his point is that the supporting standard like 9004 and all are not referred. So fairly, I mean, good point, Imanshu. But obviously, these are not certifiable standards. So sometimes they will, you are free to implement it the way you want, right? So for
Yeah.
example, 9004 is neither mandatory nor certifiable. So people like Bhavya Mangala will not get into auditing your implementation of 9004. They will certainly look at 9001. But very good point made that if you actually do a good job at implementing 9004, your 9001 is a cakewalk. It's very very easy. So I'll bring more questions now. So now that the questions are coming in, so we broadly covered as to what is happening, what has happened in the field of standards. But and you actually hinted one response to my next question by saying that in the last 2 years you have started uh, doing remote audits, right? So uh, over the last 2 years, all CMMI assessments, which were hugely, they were insisting on only physical audit, they have also converted to T2,
Yeah.
uh, this what you call remote or online, or through Skype and Zoom and Teams kind of audits. What is happening in your space, in audit space, say external audits like certification audits or something? What is new happening in that space?
If you're talking with respect to remote audit, then yes. As I said earlier, that nobody had thought that we can ever do any remote audit. And when in March 2020 in India, the lockdown started, so initially the thing was that it may go for a long time. So what to do? So one thing is to stop and then wait for the moment to come when we can again go back to the audit. But then the point is that how we can continue the show and how we can make sure that we can adapt ourselves, because when we go to audit, we always talk about continual improvement. We always talk about adapting to the change and making ourselves mm, contingency planning and do all that. So I think that was a time for the certification bodies to adapt themselves, to challenge themselves, first of all to see a different perspective, that yes, we can do the audit through remote. And again, people are of different ages and they're not very comfortable with this all this mechanism of Skype, Zoom. Many people had never thought about that, what exactly is Zoom and how to use it. But then everybody took it as a challenge and started doing it. Initial days was bit of a difficulty, because initially it was the certification body who are not finding it difficult to adapt, and then later it was for the organizations also. They had never thought that audit can be done through remote and something can happen through that. But I think everyone challenge themselves, and it gave a decent result. Rather than not doing anything, at least we had a success rate of say 60, 70, or 80%. I think this is a big learning for all of us, not only in India, but globally to everyone, that whenever there is a challenge, people also find new ways to make sure that they can deliver what has been expected from them.
Yeah. Just a minute. There is some freeze screen. Oh, it's fine. Uh,
Mhm.
so I'm glad you elaborated a little bit, because this question keeps coming back quite often, that, how can somebody do an audit online? This industry completely was built on, you know, touching and feeling and seeing
Yeah,
something. Audit by the definition of the word itself is by seeing something, right? So audit,
right.
verification, these words have evolved at a time in quality management or in general management also, when the facility to see, touch, feel, observe was available. And in online or in remote, none of these facilities are available. The very
Yeah,
basic principle of assessing the authenticity of a evidence that is presented itself is challenged, because there are many things you can assess when you see a document in your hand,
yeah,
like whether it is a fresh document, whether it has been around, whether it has
yeah,
been referred, many other things, right? When we were growing up in the audit field, I'm sure you remember that, abhi garam hai kagaz. So which
yeah.
means that the it has just come out of the printer, and it has no historical, I would say,
Or
validity.
maybe if you can see the back side of the document, you'll find that the date may be 2022, but the document signed is 2020, maybe 2 years back, which is not possible. So
Yeah, yeah. So many things like these were, we built a career, and you certainly have stayed in that space. I have moved into other fields in quality, so you would have seen many more examples of something like this. And all of this is now challenged, because you can't do any of this in. So you have to adapt your ways of questioning, and I have certainly seen that in the audits that in my organization we have faced in the last 2 years, that all auditors, of course, starting trouble with everybody, including us, because as
yeah,
auditee also we were finding it difficult, and we found that it was complex. So I'm glad that you brought it out in open for everybody, because the challenge is just not for the auditee or just not for the auditor; it is for the interaction as well. And many
yes,
auditees, actually most auditees, are very interested in a good audit, because they know that this is a sure short way of getting feedback from a third party, and non-partisan feedback also will come,
yeah,
and constructive feedback will come. So that is now happening.
yeah,
Okay, picking some. Oh, so somebody from Hyundai or Hyundai is suggesting that we were doing remote warranty audits. Yeah, certainly. I can't see your name. Apologies, but yes, certainly many organizations, not just Hyundai, many organizations were doing, particularly audits which are document related, and you can assess documents like warranty audits can certainly be done online far more easier. So in many ways, this is comparable to the chartered accounting audits, where you are
yeah,
looking at accounts and other things, and you are matching things, right? So that sometimes does not need investigation or interrogation of any kind. Uh, Wrong words, but you know what I mean. Srinivas Rao has a comment that organizations should focus on effective deployment of ISO management system for continuous improvement, irrespective of third party certification is secured.
true.
Fantastic. This is the spirit, Srinivas Rao. This is the spirit in which all serious companies should adopt. Certification is only a byproduct. If you do
Yeah,
your job well, you know certification is a byproduct. You will anyway get it. Of course, it has some additional value to it, but um, you still have to do it on a regular basis. So some nice questions coming in and very good comments. So thank you, audience, for your participation. Always useful to see good interest in these topics. There are some more, but I'll come to that a little later. So we actually covered, I would say, the importance of standards, certifications, and what is new in the field of standards, what new standards are coming in, what new types of audits, or what challenges for the audits in the last few years, particularly last 2 3 years. We just quickly covered that. So one similar question, of course, from the auditee side, do
Yeah.
you see any difference in internal quality audits or any internal audits? Do you see any difference, or that world has not changed much?
I mean, in what terms? Means in terms of their seriousness, in terms of
Their
their
seriousness,
where they
conduct of
start.
internal audit frequency, involvement, reporting, anything that has changed in the last few years?
Actually, again, it depends upon the organization. Means I will say that maybe 20 years back also it was same, and today also it is same. Some companies give a lot of importance to the internal audits, so they go in detail about that and they try to find out as much gap as possible so that they can improve further. And 20 years back also there were many companies who were just doing a superficial just for a
Sure.
formality, and something similar as this now also, wherein uh, it depends upon what they want to achieve from the audit. Is it just to fulfill a requirement? Say something similar like when we are driving on a road, we just put a seat belt just because a traffic police is near us, and then after that we again remove it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
something similar happens in the internal audit also, that some people think that no, it is important. We need to do it. It is for our benefit. So they do a detailed audit. And all those who just do something just to show off to a policeman, they just do a superficial job. I think this is what I
Fantastic.
can see. Not much
Fantastic.
difference.
I have known you now since 1990, and your ability to come up with an analogy has not changed. So whatever else might have changed, certainly something to protect your head is not no longer there. But the ability to bring an apt analogy is there. So this seatbelt analogy is fantastic, because this is really how many people approach audits. They
Yeah.
feel that it is a necessity and somehow we have to get over it, and don't see
Yeah.
the constructive side of it. For example, in our organization over the last few years, 3 4 years, what we have done is that we have actually taken some feedback from the various functions, and integrated many audits. So we said,
Okay.
okay, we will come to you once every quarter or once in the 6 months, and bring in all the requirements of all the certifications into one audit,
Yeah.
and then we leave it to us. We will manage how, which standard is satisfied and or not satisfied, and the of course the reports have to be separately generated and all. We will do all that. So that has helped us get a lot of feedback and good support from our functions and global teams, because now they feel that, oh, the same thing would have required 4 or 5 meetings. Now we can do it in one meeting,
Yeah.
and with same effectiveness. So we've found that their interest has gone up significantly, and we don't find as much resistance, even if it is a global audit and other locations. So fantastic. Murthy SN, who's again a regular and a very widely known professional in this field, has
Okay.
a slightly detailed question. So I will try and read out, but you also try and check this. There are two major challenges Murthy sees in terms of certification. One is, of course, plethora of standard organization need to adhere. So many ISO 9000, 27000, so many of these standards, CMMI, ESG, etc. Some kind of certification fatigue comes in. Yes, it does, particularly when clients also start asking for so many certifications. Then we are under pressure sometimes to say, okay, fine, we will get it done. uh, and of course it needs preparation, documentation, and so on. And b, attention to other initiatives such as RPA, robotic process automation. IPA, I'm not, something similar, um, maybe desktop automation. Initiatives are gathering, and compared to point A above, do you see any best practice in other companies on how they manage to get best value? Okay, fantastic. I think the first one certainly is in your syllabus. Second one is
Yeah.
in my syllabus, so I will take that. So
Mhm.
anything you want to add?
Well, I think what Murthy has said is very right, that when there are so many certifications, then how to focus on that and how to make sure that you're giving that much of value. I can again give the same analogy which I gave in the beginning, that earlier it was only a cinema hall where you go and that was the only key source of entertainment. Now we have got Twitter, Facebook, Insta, and so many other platforms where you can go and you can enjoy apart from going to the cinema or for seeing the movie. Something similar is happening here also. So when there are so many standards, sometimes it is very difficult to decide that which standard should be focused more. Now, the key challenge, like what you said, is that 6 months back in your organization, you integrated all the audits. I think that is something very important. The problem is that when we say that, okay, this is ISO 9000, this is CMMI, this is 27,000, this is that, and we are taking each standard in isolation rather than combining together. So whenever we see it something in isolation, it is very difficult because then we think that, okay, now this audit is coming, let's work for this. Okay, now this audit is coming, let's work for this. But if we integrate everything into one thing, then I think it is easy for any organization not only to implement but also to get the benefit of it. Otherwise, it is just becoming sort of a activity which you have to do because there is a customer requirement, or maybe it's some other stakeholder requirement, and for which it is being done. I think this is what I think about that.
So, Murthy, I hope you have your answer. And for the second part, of course, for RPA and related objectives, of course, it takes away some management attention, surely. But at the same time, the advantage of being in the quality space for 30, 40 years with many certifications and, experience, assumption is that we would have gotten better at it, right? So today, if you see, nobody maintains physical, manuals, quality manuals. Everything
Yeah,
is online. Everything is available. You don't have any need for version control. You don't have any need for, what is the latest version and all, because all that is now managed. 20 years ago, Bhavya will remember, I certainly remember that, version control was a huge thing in any audit.
yeah,
Because you will find one set of document with one person and another set in another department or another location, and that itself was a non-conformity.
yeah,
Now, for the last 10 years, those non-conformities are no longer there because that world has completely changed because of use of technology. So many things actually become easier because of technology also. I have given only one example. There are certainly many more. For example, one thing in many organizations, because of the storage and easy retrieval of data,
yeah.
any auditor can actually do an audit trail far more easily than 15 years ago, or maybe
True.
even 10 years ago.
Yeah,
You can do
yeah,
any sector. You have been in automotive sector for a long time. Today there is so much data available that you yourself can do the audit trail on any system that is
yeah,
available. And it is very difficult to fake those audit trails now compared to earlier. Earlier people could prepare paper trails completely fake also if they wanted to, and it would need a very experienced auditor to find out. Today it is very difficult to fake a system. So many things technology has made easier, and of course technology also challenges, because the same management attention time, you are seeking, everybody is seeking the same time from management, and it is not possible that a leadership team can give equal attention to quality, finance, HR, and everything. There will be some difference all the time.
yeah,
Okay, fantastic. So I wanted to, and this is a for everybody. This is not a 1 hour show today. Bhavya has to leave a little earlier, so I got a little shorter time with him. So please let your questions come in so that we can pack in as many as we can. And if you ask a lot of questions, maybe I'll be able to bully him into staying back. But I didn't want you to go by only talking about your quality work. You have written one book already, and one you are writing. A little bit about your books and your also your the video logs that you do,
yeah.
which I would love if you can share with the audience, because
Sure.
that is a unique piece of work. Nobody is really explaining quality principles the way you are explaining in short videos. So a little bit about that.
Well, to start first with the book part, I think many years back, as we all are, running very fast in our corporate journey, and the only focus is to succeed, succeed, and succeed. Then somehow I realized that in this quest of winning, somehow the peace of mind is going somewhere. Somehow the way in which you are enjoying things, that was somewhere going. So there, this all thought started that what to do in such a way that you do your best also, and you also remain in good space. So that's why I started reading those kind of books, going through all those kind of videos and audios and all that. And by doing that, I realized that one common thread which is going on with me for a long, long time was self-talk, and that was helping me to motivate myself, to keep myself active, and keeping me in the right frame of mind. So that's why at one point of time, and I think the credit should go to Toastmaster, which you introduced in the beginning. That gave me the confidence that yes, I can write, I can think, and I can express myself. And so I started writing something. In the beginning, it was not in a very structured way, but then slowly and steadily, since my target was actually to write something, and then I made a habit of, in the beginning, write every day 700 words. So that helped me to put in my thoughts on paper, and then it came out as a book, The Power of Self Talk. So that was one. Then, since I'm in this quality management system sector for more than 20 years, so every day I'm doing audit, talking to people, seeing different scenarios. So I thought that why not I should challenge myself, and what I'm learning I should give back to the people. And moreover, like we are on social media, even though yes, it is true that in the 2 years and so we have become much more familiar with that, but even before that also, I was finding it very difficult to go to social media and to see something, because I was finding it difficult to understand. So that's why I thought, let me challenge myself and give back what I'm learning, and also to challenge on the social media. So that's why I started writing blogs first, and then later on making the videos in English and Hindi, so that depending upon the audience, they can learn and they can get benefited in case they want. But the key success, the key important thing is that I don't know how much people are learning and people are getting benefited, but the only person which I know is getting the most is me. Because to write any blog, to make any video, and especially when you're working for such a big company like DNB, you have a big challenge in front of you, that whatever you're writing and whatever you're speaking, that should fulfill the expectations of the people who are reading it. So that helped me to go through so much data and so many things before coming out with something. So I learned the most, I think, apart from the people who are getting benefited.
I can totally resonate with this, Bhavya, because and meanwhile I am sharing one comment from Kirti Kumar Singh. Um, he obviously has enjoyed your video, so I would strongly recommend that those who are on the show or those who will watch this show later on, please give Bhavya's channel on YouTube a look. We will try and share the address on the LinkedIn page of this show, and also on the YouTube page, so that you can easy to find. He's available on this, and but just to come back on that point that you made, now this series that I'm doing, and just for reminder, everybody, I'm flashing the name of my channel on YouTube on the screen. So this is a new facility on YouTube for getting a handle. So all channels which are regular have received a handle. So now you can type just add manage hyphen better, and you will get to my channel. So easy to remember, and also easy to locate within YouTube, because YouTube had this, millions of channels, so sometimes very difficult to locate. And there could be two people with Anshuman Tiwari name, and you could get confused. Or Bhavya Mangala could be, two, three, or maybe more. But they will have these unique channels which you can check. Anyway, coming back to what I was about to say is that with having so many live shows, what I notice is that I start feeling it like it is a private tuition for me. So I am learning
Yeah,
from you
yeah,
one on one,
yeah,
and the only difference is that I have allowed audience to view the learning process. So there can be a classroom, only teacher and student sitting, and the audience is around the class, and occasionally the audience can also ask a question. So, like you said, the while you prepare your videos, which is your chosen medium, you get the maximum benefit. When I
yeah,
do these shows, I get the maximum benefit because I am learning firsthand directly from experts in their fields. In like today from you, right? So that is a huge advantage. And those who want to start these kind of activities, there could not be any better motivation than this. With that. Shweta is asking a question. She has posted a couple of comments earlier as well. But what is the suggestion that you would like to give younger generation? What do you mean, Shweta? We are both Bhavya and I are young, so this is this is too much. I am taking offense. Bhavya at least looks older. I am very young. But we will come back to your question. To would like to give your younger generation who want to start their career in quality assurance, specifically from where should they start? Yeah, so this is a career-oriented question. Very nice. Thank you, Shweta, for a very interesting and useful question. Anything on this, Bhavya?
Well, I think the basis still remains the same for everyone. It could be quality, it could be production, it could be anywhere in the career. The main thing is that we should understand the basic of a particular thing. Unless and until we are clear about the basic of any particular process, so in this case it is quality assurance process, it is very difficult to have a good grab over the things, because many times people know certain things, that okay, we have to do these things, but why we have to say, for example, when we talk about incoming inspection, we talk about we are following this particular sampling plan. Wonderful. But then why we are using this sampling plan, from where the sampling plan has come, what is the basis of this sampling plan? So it's important that in the quality journey also, wherever we are working, whatever is the procedure or guideline that we are following, we should try to find out that from where it is coming, what is the basis of that. Because unless and until we understand that basis, it will be very difficult to have a firm, basis that why exactly we are doing it. And it just becomes a norm for us that, okay, we are just doing it because this company is doing it. So I think this particular question, that why it is so and what is the reason behind it, if we can look into that, I think that will make our journey much easier and much better in coming times.
Sure. Thank Bhavya. Shweta, if I may add a little bit, because I do a little bit of a career growth coaching, and I've been active in that space for last few years as a hobby. So what I can certainly say that you cannot actually plan very much your start in quality or any other field. First thing is to do find a good job and work really hard at whatever you get. Right? So one thing, whether younger or older generation, anybody, any job that you find, and I was speaking at a similar forum 3 4 days ago, and I did say that don't worry too much about path and everything. Any job that you find, work really hard, and that will you will learn something. So for example, in quality it is said that if you want to be in a good quality manager, first work in production, because then you will understand how things are done. But you cannot dictate whether you will land a job in production or not, right? So it is ideal, unless you are working in a Japanese environment where they by design put you in some production related jobs. In many companies don't put you by design, so it is not in your hands always, right? So don't put too much pressure on yourself, Shweta, and others who are in this same space, that this there is an ideal way to get into quality. There is no ideal way to get into any subject. Forget quality, right? So whatever job you've landed, do really well. Keep your eye on quality assurance if that is your interest, like you mentioned, and keep looking for chances to get into quality and qualification, which Bhavya explained that if you want to get into that, you should understand how organization works, because then you will plan. Quality assurance is all about planning. So you can plan only when you know how it is done, right? So
Yeah.
so those things are important, but hopefully we together were able to give you an answer that you will help you, right? There is a interesting question. I am not too sure if it is too specific, but Manikandan Venkatachalam is asking. I read an article regarding a change coming related to man-day calculation for certification audit.
Mhm.
So this seems very specific, but since you are in that field, I am taking the risk of asking this. You can ignore this question if you want, but factors such as organizational QMS performance are being considered as risk-based man-day calculation. Would you know more, or can you provide some insight into this? Bhavya?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about for which standard he's asking about this particular question, but in general, the accreditation bodies have a standard template that, and there are certain criteria based on the manpower, based on the criticality of the process, whether the organization design is responsible, whether it is a repetitive work, whether it is a shift work, and many other factors are there. Based on that, that from the table, say for example, there's 100 manpower, so we can say that there are 5 man days of audit that needs to be done. But then that is the maximum 5 man days. Based on these factors, it can increase or it can decrease on that. So maybe on that there may be a new factor with respect to risk which may be coming, and it's a continuous thing which happens. Means depending upon the feedback that comes from the industry and from the certification body and the other interested bodies, it happens in that way. So unless and until I come to know about any specific standard or from where it is coming, I think only then I can specifically
Sure. So,
answer to you.
Manikandan, what I will suggest is that you since you've asked this question on LinkedIn, maybe you clarify your question and tag Bhavya on that question so that he gets a notification and he can then, whenever he can, answer that. So, if, like he said, if you specify your standard or the context, he can answer a little bit more specifically. But thank you for your question, and always happy to take interesting questions. A few more coming in. I will hold you on for a little bit more. I know this is above time that you promised, but just a little
Sure,
bit more because there are quite a few questions coming in,
sure, sure.
and not very often, but somebody is thanking me. So thank you, LinkedIn user. For some reason, your name is not presenting. Not my fault, but whoever you are, thank you very much. Sometimes this happens that LinkedIn and StreamYard, the name doesn't show for everybody. It shows for many, but not for everybody. But your fan, I would like to thank Bhavya sir for his self motivation approach, for doing all the good work at YouTube, and of course, on your motivation and self satisfaction talks. So, thank you very much. And I agree with you, whoever has made this comment, that whenever I watch his videos, I think that, what am I doing? We should be all learning from people like him. But the truth also is that we all motivate each other. I'm sure he picks motivation from others, and we all learn from him. So one last area that I wanted to check, and meanwhile, if
Yeah.
other questions come in, I will certainly bring in. Some questions are similar, so I'm clubbing it. So
Okay.
I can't, because some people specifically ask something similar about audits and all, which you have already answered.
Yeah.
Right. But the question I wanted to bring in is that you read a lot, write a lot, and now have your blog and other things also. But what are you reading these days, and what quality related book would you like to recommend to our audience, if at all?
Well, generally, I don't read quality related book. I read books more related to management books, the
Mhm.
books which are more related to how to think and something you can say also related to spirituality and all that. Like very recently, I've started reading a book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Many people recommended that it's a very interesting book and it is very useful, so that I'm doing it. And few days back, I completed reading one more time one book, which is the Awaken the Giant Within. That's a very popular book which is there, and a very interesting book with respect to spirituality and to the business is by Devdutt Patnaik, Business Sutra, which I think I'm reading for the third time and I'm enjoying reading it. So these are the different books. The idea is that the book should help you to make your thinking better, to make you think more clearly, and make you more emotionally strong. Because I think that is the single most important thing, irrespective of whichever profession you are. That helps you a lot in that. This is what I think at this point of time.
Sure, thank you. And I always ask this question because there's a hidden motivation that what can I pick up from your reading list?
Mhm.
And for those who don't know, every Monday for the last almost a year, I post a book review on my LinkedIn timeline, except one or two Mondays, except the Diwali Monday and one more Monday during the year. Almost every Monday, I have posted a short review, which I get good feedback that many people like, because not everybody can take out the time that is required to read a book. But
So
hopefully,
Anshuman, you read and then you give a comment, or how do that?
yes, yes, I read and summarize. And these days, I prefer Audible quite a bit,
Okay.
so I can listen to the book. But
Mhm.
after listening to the book, I go and read it, so that I can use both my ears and eyes to grab the book, because some books, you can't really listen to them. You need to read a little bit to grab the
Yeah,
idea. It is too dense sometimes, and it is not a story that you can listen. There are deeper meanings and layers when you read, when you see the words in print, then you see
yeah,
more meaning. So those books I read again, and then do. Of course, this does not mean that I read a book a week. It also means that some are books that I've read earlier, and
yeah.
I am now summarizing it. So maybe the ratio will be 60-40 or something, that 60-70% I read fresh, and remaining are books I've read previously, but I really like them. So I
Mhm.
reread them a little bit, and then post the review. So that is getting a lot of interest, and it keeps me motivated to write that.
And who is the
Uh,
biggest beneficiary of writing the summary of the book?
Only me. So the that is true
Yeah,
for any kind of media creation, right? So if you ask an actor who's the biggest beneficiary, the actor is the biggest beneficiary, because his or her craft is acting. Same way
yeah,
public speakers, their craft is public speaking.
yeah,
Audience is required to for the interaction that is there, right? And the learning increases, right? So
yeah,
audience is always required, because that is why you do certain things.
yeah.
But the biggest beneficiary certainly is the person who's creating or producing. And these
True.
days, with the common word of social media creator that you and I can be tagged as, um, we are very big beneficiaries, because we are refreshing our learning every week.
Yeah,
So if I have to write a review every Monday, I have to read something. Even if I have to reread it,
yeah,
even if it takes 2 hours, I still have to find that 2 hours to reread that. And other books will take 5 to 6 or maybe 10 hours to read, maybe sometimes more than that. And
true.
but you have to find that time. So the beneficiary is certainly us.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, the person, I think the LinkedIn user whose name was not appearing is Sanjay Singh. So thank you, Sanjay. And now we are almost toward the end of the show, slightly extended one than planned. But
Hmm.
Shweta has recommended one book around extreme ownership, how US Navy SEALs lead and win. Thank you, Shweta, for your recommendation.
Hmm.
And okay, so we are towards the end. Any closing comments, Bhavya sir? Anything that you wanted to share with the audience on the topic that we,
Sure, sure.
spoke today?
I think you start a topic about the erosion of certifications and the confidence of people in that. But I think say, for example, if the organization today decides that they will not enter the name of people who are coming in and going out in the gate, whether it is possible for the organization to manage the system, or in case people are maintaining any documentation or records, whatever they are checking, if they stop doing that, is it practically possible to survive an organization? It will not. So many times it happens that in general we have this phobia or a mindset that when we talk about certification, it's all about documentation and somebody is going to come and see that. But we don't realize that without the documentation, without a system, a company cannot survive and it will crash down. So the system is required. And the interesting thing is that system is required for the organization. It is not for the certification body. It is something like this. A checklist is required for the certification body.
We are losing your feed, Bhavya. So thankfully, the internet has failed only toward the end. So what we will do is that, are you back?
I am very much there, and I
No.
think.
So for the last 30 seconds, your feed went away, so we could
Oh,
not hear you. But
okay.
I heard you tell you were speaking about the example of the time management, and the system is required for the organization. But if you can summarize in the next half a minute or so, that would be awesome.
So the thing is that all these systems and standards are required by the organization. It is important for them because without them they cannot survive. So it is not the certification body whose requirement is there, but it is the organization who requires the certification body to see that yes, whether we are doing things as per the requirement or not. But then somehow over a period of time things have slightly changed, and we have started seeing it more as a problem rather than seeing it as a necessity, which is going to be there ever. This is what I can say about that.
Thank you very much. With that, what I will do is that I have the pleasure and duty to thank you and thank the audience as well, because without the audience, these shows are not there. So
True.
thank you once again. We have been talking about this show for a long time. Eventually, finally, it has happened, and it is. I'm glad that it is happening during the Quality Month itself, because
Yeah.
that magnifies the or amplifies the focus on quality. So once again, thank you very much. And to my audience, thank you for staying for the show and asking wonderful questions. What we will do, as promised, both of us will check your questions on, particularly on LinkedIn, and share whatever additional information we can share. For those, once a quick reminder, once again, that those who are new to the show or new to me and Bhavya, please take some time to check our profiles on LinkedIn and YouTube and try and follow and subscribe so that you can get more alerts on what we post. So, with that, we will end the show. There will be most likely no show next weekend. I am traveling, but the next weekend I will certainly come back with another quality focused show in the for you all. So with that, thank you very much. Bye bye. You have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye bye. All the best. Thank you.